Most people think if their garden is failing, it's because they did something wrong, not enough watering, not enough sunlight, not enough effort. But here's the truth, some of the worst performing gardens belong to people doing everything right. Watering consistently, using good soil, following advice, and still, things don't grow the way they should. Leaves turn yellow, plants stay small, pests show up, and nothing feels stable, because the problem isn't effort, it's understanding. Most gardens don't fail because of one big mistake, they fail because of small problems that stack together, and once they stack, the system breaks down. The first thing most people miss is the soil, not just what it looks like, but what it actually is. Soil isn't just dirt, it's a living system, full of microorganisms, breaking down nutrients, making them available to plants. When that system is weak, your plants are technically being fed, but not properly nourished, so they grow slower, weaker, and weaker plants attract problems. This is why two gardens, using the same compost, can produce completely different results. One thrives, the other struggles, because one has life in the soil, and the other doesn't. The next issue is something that feels harmless, but, it actually causes damage over time. Overwatering. Most people think more water equals healthier plants, but roots need oxygen, just as much as they need water. When soil stays too wet, oxygen disappears. Roots weaken, and once roots weaken, everything above ground follows. Leaves lose color, growth slows, and pests become more likely, because again, weak plants send signals, and pests respond to those signals instantly. Then there's spacing. This one gets ignored constantly. Plants that are too close together create their own problems. Airflow drops, moisture stays trapped, light gets blocked, and suddenly, you have the perfect environment for disease, mold, mildew, rot. It doesn't happen overnight, but once it starts, it spreads quietly, and by the time you notice, it's already established. Another major issue is treating symptoms instead of causes. Leaves turning yellow, people add nutrients, pests appear, people spray, growth slows, people water more, but these are reactions, not solutions, because those symptoms usually come from deeper problems. So, instead of fixing the system, people keep adjusting the surface, and nothing really improves. One of the biggest hidden problems is inconsistency. Plants don't respond well to extremes. Too much water, then too little. Too much sun exposure suddenly, after being shaded. Irregular feeding. These changes stress the plant, and stress builds over time. It doesn't always show immediately, but eventually, the plant reaches a point where it can't recover properly, and that's when failure becomes visible. Another factor almost nobody considers is plant compatibility. Not all plants work well together. Some compete heavily for nutrients, others release compounds into the soil that affect nearby plants. So even if each plant is healthy on its own, together, they can create imbalance. This is why companion planting matters, not as a trend, but as a system. When plants support each other, the entire garden becomes stronger. When they don't, you're constantly fighting problems. Then there's the issue of timing. Planting too early or too late, even by a small margin, can affect growth, because plants rely on temperature, day length, and environmental signals. Miss that window, and they struggle from the start, and struggling plants rarely recover fully. Now, here's something most people never think about. Your garden is not isolated, it's part of a larger environment. Weather patterns, wind exposure, surrounding plants, even nearby structures, all influence how your garden behaves. Two identical setups, in different locations, will not perform the same, and trying to treat them the same leads to frustration, because what works in one space doesn't always translate to another. Another silent problem is doing too much, constant adjusting, constant fixing, constant interference. Sometimes, the system doesn't need more action, it needs stability, because when you keep changing conditions, plants never fully adapt. They stay in a constant state of stress, and stress systems don't perform well. Then there's expectations. This one is subtle, but powerful. People expect fast results, quick growth, immediate success. But natural systems don't work like that. They build over time. So when results aren't immediate, people assume something is wrong and start changing things that didn't need changing, which leads to actual problems instead of imagined ones. And this cycle continues until the garden feels unpredictable, unstable, and frustrating. But when you step back and look at it differently, you start to see a pattern. It's not random, it's not bad luck, it's a system under pressure. Too many small issues stacked together. Once you remove that pressure, things change, growth improves, plants stabilize, problems reduce, not because you added something new, but because you fixed what was interfering. And that's the shift most people never make. They keep adding solutions instead of removing problems, and that's why their garden never feels consistent. But once you understand this, everything becomes simpler. You stop reacting to every issue and start building something stable, something that works, even when conditions aren't perfect, because real gardens aren't perfect, they're balanced, and balance doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing the right things, consistently. Most gardens don't fail suddenly, they fail slowly, quietly, over time, until one day, it becomes obvious, but by then, the signs were already there, and now you know what to look for.